Hey guys, and welcome to another video of The Guide, our tutorial series on FIFA 19. I'm Benjamin, also known as Taz, and today we want to talk about how you can control the ball when receiving a pass. And this topic is super important to have a safe build-up play so that you don't lose ball possession, and also in creating chances. In the first part, I'm going to give you an overview about the different factors that you should consider when coming to a decision how you want to control the ball. And in the second part, I will give you an overview about certain techniques, certain variants, how you can control the ball. So this video should be a starting point because we can't talk about every technique in detail, so its ups and downsides, etc. So let us know in the comment section below if you're interested in more videos about this topic and also about which variant, about which technique specifically. Write that down, and now we're going to start with the general factors about ball control. The current movement of your player is one of the most important factors that you have to consider when you want to control the ball. This means the current running direction and also pace of the player. The direction of your player can limit in which directions you can control the ball without losing too much control of it. The reason is that your player has to incorporate a turn to follow up after the ball control. This makes it more challenging for him, which increases the chance of a poor touch. So you should always try to go for very natural directions how you follow up the ball control so that it doesn't require huge turns. Additionally, your player has also to challenge the physical momentum that he has in the current running direction. High pace enhances this effect. Take a look at this example. Your player is running into that direction with a lot of pace. If you try to control the ball into the opposite direction, this would end up in a poor touch on the ball because of the physical momentum that your player has at the moment in the original running direction. This would make the ball control more challenging, and the more challenging it is, the less control you have over the ball on average. Try to avoid that, since it does give the opponent players a very good chance to get to the ball. This leads us to the next constraint, the opponent and its players. You can try to go for natural directions after the ball control, but if this is directly into the opponent, it's not going to help you to maintain ball possession. So you always have to understand where the opponent players are, how they're going to approach you, and how they can challenge the ball during the ball control and right after. Because this is one of the best time windows as a defender to have a successful challenge, when he has the right idea how you want to control the ball. So you should always avoid directions that lead directly to an open challenge for your opponent. As you probably want to continue your play and you don't want to do that alone, you need your teammates. So when you decide in which direction you can continue with controlling the ball, you should consider how you can follow it up, and this means where the teammates are that you can pass to. You don't want to turn into a direction and then you are isolated because you don't have a teammate that you can pass to. As you have learned from our passing basics video, you need good passing angles and setups for successful passes. If you haven't watched this video yet, you can click at the icon in the top right corner or find the link in the video description. So you should always be in the lookout how you can continue the play, but sometimes doing the opposite can also be quite effective in outthinking the opponent. But we would have to explain this in a more advanced video. This factor is quite easy to understand. A normal pass is much easier to receive and control than a driven pass, which is played with much more pace, or lob pass over long distance with high power as well. And the rule of thumb is, the harder the pass, the more challenging it is to control it. And more challenging means a higher chance of a poor touch, and this chance gets higher if you want to combine this with huge turns and so on. So this also limits the things that you can do to control the ball. Quite obvious, but we have to mention it as well. The dribbling skills of the player also have a huge influence. Your rigid center back will struggle a lot more with a turn while controlling the ball than your agile winger. So the dribbling attributes, and especially the ball control stat, determine the quality of your ball control. Always keep that in mind when you're about to receive a pass. When you put all these factors together, you have to come to an idea how you want to continue after the ball control, and this includes in what direction and with how much pace. The direction is mainly determined by the current running direction of your player, the opponent players, and your teammates. The biggest constraint on with how much pace you can continue are the opponent players, since high pace means less ball control, which makes it then easier for the opponent to tackle the ball. So unless you have a lot of space, you shouldn't touch the sprint button when controlling the ball. This is one of the biggest source of errors. Too much use of the sprint button while controlling the ball. So let's take a look at an example and put all these factors together. The ball is about to get to my player. I was playing a draft and it's prime moment Socrates, so we don't have to worry about the dribbling skills of this player. He's not moving much before the ball gets to him, but still he's facing to this direction. This means if I would hold my left stick to the right in the moment of receiving the ball, he would have to do a huge turn and accelerate in that direction. In general, this would be a good idea since the opponent's goal is in that direction. But there's an opponent player, and especially since it's the one that my opponent is controlling, as you can see by the white indicator, there's a high chance that he's going to go in for a tackle and get to the ball. The more natural direction is to control the ball into the direction that my player is looking at the moment, so to the left. And this also protects the ball from the opponent's player. Maybe I could have achieved the same thing if I would go to the top, since my opponent player is approaching me slightly from below. But if I would turn to the top, I would be pretty much isolated since there's no teammate. Which means I would have to turn around anyways unless I beat my opponent in this position, which is super unlikely, since I'm almost standing at the moment and have to accelerate from here. So going in that direction and then in the end turn around would slow down my counterattack massively. Therefore I control the ball to the left, protect it and turn downwards to be able to play a pass to my striker here or my winger here. Since my plan is not to beat my opponent in a running duel, which is basically impossible from the current position, I don't use the sprint button at all. The ball was bouncing when Socrates was receiving the ball. This doesn't make it easier, but since I went for a very natural direction in receiving the ball, I wasn't using the sprint button and Socrates is a very good dribbler, this wasn't a huge factor. So this is how I assessed the game situation before controlling the ball, came to a plan how I want to continue and executed it. The result looks quite simple, but it was very important to keep a high pace in my counterattack. I do this kind of assessment basically every time when I control the ball, and so should you. If you do this more often, at some point you get a feel for all these factors and don't have to actually think through everything. This technique is highly underrated but can help you a lot in different situations. Standing still, just do no input at all with the left stick. Since no turn is required or any other movement, this increases the chance of a good touch. So this technique is most applicable when you think that a pass is hard to control. I use this most often when receiving a high lob pass after switching the side. You can also use it in midfield to gain time on the ball without risking to turn into an opponent. As this is also a little bit unexpected, it can confuse your opponent because he was expecting a turn in a certain direction. Controlling the ball to the side is most often used when the opponent is behind your player who's receiving the pass. By controlling the ball to the side, you're able to open yourself up to teammates in front of you or to your side. So by this move you often decide in which direction you're developing your play. For this, it's very important to read the thoughts and also the movement of the opponent's player to not risk losing the ball. To minimize this risk, you usually do this without using the sprint button, because you then have much tighter control and can react faster if you need to change your plan. This technique has some overlap with to the side, but you do it in a way at which you counter the current movement and game direction so that you avoid the opponent player and have new options available, which you usually wouldn't have if you would have just followed the flow. If done in the right situation, you get some space and time off your opponent to then develop your play. Once again, this is a technique without using the sprint button to have a tight control over the ball. First of all, for this technique you have to use the L2 LT button. Basically you do this when you notice that you played a pass to a teammate which is directly under pressure of an opponent. So you press L2 LT to protect the ball, and with the left stick you move away from the opponent. Your player then will try to use his body to shield the opponent away, securing the ball possession. It's some sort of a last resort because there's always a chance that it's not going to work. Therefore you should try to avoid to get in a situation where this is necessary. If successful, you can get control over the situation, but usually this means that it slowed down your attack. We have a dedicated video about this technique in general, so not only for controlling the ball. Click the icon in the top right corner or find the link in the video description. The fake shot is one of the most important moves on creating chances. To do a fake shot, you have to press the crossing or shooting button and then in quick succession the passing button to cancel it. With the left stick you decide in which direction your player is doing the fake shot. Depending on pace, angle and skill move stars, you will see different variants of a fake shot. This requires some practice to get a feel for the angles and especially the timing. But if done correctly, you can quickly change the direction in a very smooth way to outmove your opponent. This can be used to get some space to play the deadly pass or to get past the last defender to have a shot on goal. The knock-on is essential to keep a high pace in your counterattacks. Usually you use this when you play a through pass to a player which is already running with high pace. When you then hold the sprint button and flick the right stick into the direction that you want to continue, your player is doing a knock-on. This will help you a lot to keep high pace, which is especially a problem in FIFA 19. A lot of people complain about defenders catching up to your attackers. With the knock-on, you reduce the chance of this happening. In this example, I was able to use the knock-on to not only maintain the distance with Figo against the Salah, but actually increase it. By the way, this was Foot Birthday Salah with Shadow Cam style. If I wouldn't have used the knock-on, this wouldn't have been possible. The dummy is a very old school move which you rarely see nowadays. The reason is that it's much harder to successfully pull off in FIFA 19. So the idea behind this move is your player is actually not controlling the ball, but instead just letting the pass through. When the opponent player anticipated another move, he's moving away and you have space right in front of you and got rid of the opponent as well. To do this, you have to press R1 or B and hold the left stick into the opposite direction at which the ball is coming from. It's not as popular anymore because it's sometimes weird to get the angles right, and also the chance of the opponent still getting to the ball is quite high. This is just a selection of variants how to control the ball, and there are many more. Some of them you can't really separate from each other, but this is also not that important. Important is to understand what is possible in each situation when you're about to control the ball. Consider all of the mentioned factors to come to the best decision. The ball control and the decision making around it is very important to create your skill gap in every single match. Being always aware what is going on around you and come to the better decision at this than your opponent will help to concede less goals, since you're going to lose the ball less often in build-up play, and outthinking the opponent in the offense can help you to score the decisive goal. Even though it is a key element in playing FIFA, not a lot of people talk about it. As mentioned in the introduction, let us know in the comment section if you want to know more about the ball control or any specific technique or variant. Putting this video together was a lot of work. If you find this video helpful, please leave a like and share it with your friends. We believe that this video can help a lot of people to understand the game on another level and become a better player. We would highly appreciate it if you're going to help us with that. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and activate the bell. If you're interested in getting private coaching by pro, top 100 and elite players, check out the link to our coaching website in the video description. Thanks for your attention, keep a clean sheet, I'm out.